This year, I went to Gamescom for 2 games. One of them was Sparking Zero, which you've seen a lot on the channel already, and the other one was Hunter Nen Impact. I finally got to play the new Hunter fighting game, and unfortunately, I don't think it was that fun of an experience. Now, that isn't to say that this game isn't good, but it definitely didn't click right away, which kind of goes against every first impression that I've heard so far. I have watched a lot of footage for this game and heard a lot of impressions coming mostly from the FGC, as this game was mainly played in FGC events. So when I got my hands on it, I already knew a lot about it, I just needed to feel it for myself, you know? And I really wanted to like it from the get-go. Looking at the gameplay, it looked fun to me. The graphics bothered a lot of fans. To me, the graphics are not an obstacle at all. Pretty graphics are a nice bonus, but not a requirement for me personally. But actually getting my hands on it felt different from what I expected, and I think I can explain why that was if I can draw your attention to some specific elements. First of all, the reason why I haven't made a video about this yet, and it's been a week since Gamescom, is because there was no capture for this event. And when I asked them for some B-roll so I could make this video, they sent me a PowerPoint presentation, which actually wasn't all bad. This has a lot of good info, but for the most part, we're gonna be relying on trailers for footage and the gameplay that Damascus brought us from Japan Expo in Paris. Also, after we cover Hunter, I do want to tell you about the new Double Dragon, which I also got to play. I didn't schedule an appointment for that game, but I was already at Arxis, so I thought, why not? The new Double Dragon is a game I wasn't interested in at all, but after playing it, I'm kind of hyped for that. So stick around until the end to hear more about that one. Hunter. The build I played had Meruem and still had a bunch of other locked characters, so I'm gonna say it was probably the same build that we had at EVO 2024. And the whole session started with the PowerPoint presentation. Now, this had some basic info, which you all already know about, like, that's a health bar. Wow. But do not underestimate this PowerPoint, because then it gives you this. And I'm like, bro, what is happening? There's no shot I'm memorizing all of it. They didn't spend a lot of time explaining this, which I did appreciate. I think getting an info dump for a fighting game is probably one of the worst ways to learn it. You just gotta get your hands on it and slowly add more and more mechanics to your tool belt. And so I played against someone else that was there for the presentation too. And after some technical issues, we had our first real match. We started very much like this one, slowly pressing buttons, jumping around, seeing what we can do, getting a feel for the game before we actually started fighting. And this felt way slower than I expected. This is a game made by Aiding, and a lot of people have compared it to Marvel vs. Capcom in terms of feel. So I was definitely expecting some crazy action, but man, the dash speed is slow as hell, the jump is super floaty, movement overall does not feel good. And I know this game is definitely going to be chaotic once we learn it. It's definitely not going to move this slow, but that will mostly come from characters' moves and abilities. Most characters, for instance, have a move that dashes towards the opponent much faster than your default movement would be able to. Either that, or they have some long-range projectile, or just straight up a teleport. So I think neutral in this game is going to be a lot of using these special moves, calling an assist, and you're in. You're mixing up your opponent. But the basic movement is super sluggish. I was definitely not a fan. And this was the first reason why the game didn't immediately click for me. After all, I'm picking it up for the first time. I have no idea what each character's moveset is. I don't know what their specials are. So I'm just learning how to do the universal stuff, and the universal stuff didn't feel great. So that's neutral and why I wasn't immediately a fan. But next, let's talk about combos. Now, I tried to do some light, medium, heavy combos a couple of times. I dropped those combos after 3 hits. Learning combos on the fly was definitely not going to be an option, which is why they have an auto combo button. Now, we've talked about auto combos in this game before, but I actually got some extra info you might not know about because we have the almighty PowerPoint. So your left trigger enables auto combos as long as you're holding it down. Let me grab a controller for this. Left trigger, if you hold it down, you can mash the light, the medium, or the heavy attack button, and you'll have a different auto combo. They actually have 3 different auto combos for each character depending on the button you're mashing. And each one of these auto combos deals different amounts of damage. So this is definitely a feature they thought about a lot. They wanted to make this game approachable for beginners. And they gave us 3 auto combos to pull off mid-match. And some of these combos are pretty advanced. If you want to do these manually, it will probably take you a few good hours of labbing, but you just have access to that upon picking up a new character. That's kind of powerful. They deal good damage, but usually end in a super, which lets your opponent get out for free, just tech midair. So I'm guessing the main difference from auto combos to someone who has actually practiced this game is how the combo ends. Because in this game, you probably want to end on a knockdown so you can mix up your opponent and finish them, instead of finishing with a super every time, which lets the opponent return to neutral. But damage-wise, 2 combos are enough to finish your opponent, whether you're using auto combos or not. Now, personally, I'm not a fan of how big these auto combos are, but I also think that the way they have them set up absolutely sucks for for beginners too. So it's a lose-lose situation for everyone. When you're blocking someone's pressure, you usually have to be pretty fast with the button to challenge them. And if you're not already holding the auto combo button, then you're not gonna get a combo, you're just gonna poke them. At the same time, if you're holding down the auto combo button all the time, I think some of the other buttons become disabled. I can't quite confirm this, but I think I either couldn't call assists or use my special moves while holding down the auto combo button, which is nice. There's got to be some downside to automatically dealing 50% damage by mashing a button, but it makes the auto combo button feel so bad. The number one thing I want to do when I finally get this game at home is learn a combo so I don't have to press the auto combo button anymore, because it just felt awful. Now, after a couple of games, something absolutely ridiculous happened. Biscuit just entered the room. Me and Biscuit have collabed a few times on the channel, and out of nowhere, I just heard his voice, and I'm not gonna lie, that kind of felt surreal. Like, why is Biscuit all of a sudden in my Arxis appointment? What's going on? But you know what? Biscuit entering the room was probably the best thing that could have happened for this demo, because cooking Biscuit in this game, it felt real nice. I think when it comes to new fighting games, if you're learning it alongside someone else and you're both communicating going, whoa, you can do that? How did you do it? And you just share tech, the experience ends up being a lot better. My first opponent wasn't very big on communication, so I was just kind of learning the game by myself. Once I got in a set with Biscuit and we both started improving together, things were a lot better. And as I got used to the controls, I wanted to know what else I could do, especially while I was blocking. There was some defensive mechanic I saw back on the PowerPoint, so I asked them, yo, what can I do while blocking? And they said, press the X button plus the assist button at the same time. They told me to snap back an opponent. You can't do that on block. To be fair, this was their first appointment of the whole show. I'm sure by day 3 they had things ironed out, but this presentation was indeed a bit scuffed. What I was probably looking for was bounce guard, but since the PowerPoint was just gone now, I didn't have this reference. I asked them about a release date and pricing. I mean, is this going to be a full price game? And they say they're still releasing the game in 2024, but as far as price goes, they did not say a word. This definitely feels like a budget game, and despite my poor experience picking it up, I'm still interested in learning it. Again, a bad first impression doesn't mean a bad game in the end, so I'll still give it a fair shot, but I do hope that they price this accordingly, because it does not feel like a full-priced game. I mean, I also play this after a full week of 2xKO, which probably didn't help this first impression either. In other news, Double Dragon Revive wasn't even on my radar, and now I think it's a must-play. It's a shame they only have the announcement trailer so far. I would have definitely liked to show some gameplay here. Good thing we have the PowerPoint! Now, this is a reboot of Double Dragon using the first and second games as their foundation, but using the Arxis fighting game experience to elevate the genre as a whole. Now, I have played a bunch of side-scrolling beat-em-ups in my gaming years, and in my opinion, this genre is some brainless fun, but feels like it's been outdated for a while. This went from being one of my favorite genres back in the arcades to being something that's just like relegated to a very repetitive thing that you can have fun for a while. And there are die-hard fans for this genre. I don't want to offend anyone, but to me, it's been a while since I played something that I actually felt fresh in the beat-em-up genre. That is, until I played this Double Dragon. This is the first time that I feel like I was playing an evolution of the genre itself, and they do it with some very simple but obvious things that purists may not like very much, but hey, I did, and that's the whole reason why I enjoyed it. Like, a really small thing they did is, you know when you're in a beat-em-up and you just start punching and you're missing your opponents because you're not on the same plane? So you're just whiffing the button? Yeah, they kind of make some adjustments so you can punch diagonally, and it happens automatically. Like, it still feels like a 2D game, but they have a lot of 3D aspects that just improve the genre like crazy. Another example is you can throw opponents into the back wall. Like, there are a ton of interactable objects and a lot of them work in 3D. So you are fighting in a 3D space while making it feel like 2D still, and that just felt like, yeah, obviously, that's how you should level up the genre. Make it a 3D brawler, but keep that same 2D feel. There are spinning moves now that hit the opponents above and below you as well, and characters do feel like they have a lot more moves coming from fighting games. If you're just in a 1v1, you can combo a dude forever with launchers, wall bounces. Combos feel awesome. But then you also have reversal moves for whenever a boss shines a certain color. That means you can counter them by pressing that button, and the way the camera just zooms in and the way the environment reacts to the power of that move, it just feels awesome. Now, I remember them saying something like 8 hours total playtime that they're aiming for with a single playthrough. I may be misremembering the exact number there, but it's not huge. I played it for about 20 minutes, but if it's like 8 hours of those 20 minutes, like the same thing, I am so down. This one's coming out next year, and suddenly, yeah, it's on my radar. But that was my visit to Arc System Works at Gamescom 2024. That said, there are a lot of people out there with a lot more playtime in Hunter x Hunter, like Damascus, for instance, who I interviewed in this video right here. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.